Hello, my name is Nicole, and I am continuing to read out of my book, Know Your Enemy, The Christian's Critic by NichollMcGuire. Please do click on the links that accompany this page, and you will be able to get the book. All right, so I have went over a few wicked critic strategies in a previous audio, and I also went over some things dealing with studying your enemy, knowing what those red flag signs are when it comes to dealing with an enemy of the faith. And these things come in handy now when you're considering a relationship with someone and you're questioning whether or not they're a Christian. These points come in handy when you're about to enter into a business relationship or partnership, join a group. You want to make sure that those that are going to be in your inner circle are in fact really sold out for God. And I'll tell you that even me reading the book and researching and writing and all this other stuff related to this book, I have been able to get some people out of my inner circle. As a result of writing this book, I'm off of Facebook because I found that there was a lot of things that just wasn't right. And I'm saying to myself, I'm connecting with people, and some of these people are just not people that are the type of people I want close to me. They're the type of people that you want to talk to them about God and encourage them and so forth. But as far as an inner circle, people that are really close, people who I can trust, no, nope. So this book has been very helpful, I'll tell you, and I'm sure it will be helpful to you too as you do your process of elimination of relatives and friends who just don't mean you well. One thing that I find is that we will a lot of times argue, with people unexpectedly, that is. And when we do, we will have some regrets. We'll go through some feelings like, oh, it should have never happened. I can't believe it. But sometimes I will tell you that God will allow some things to happen because people need to know where we stand on the issues. People need to know where we are in terms of our walk with God. And sometimes the only way that people are going to see that is, through uncomfortable debates. And even though there's people around you that will say, oh, you're a troublemaker, I can't believe you said that, you did that, blah, 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 blah. If you're acting according to God's will, it doesn't matter what they say. Because you got to press on. You got to move forward. You got to do what God tells you to do. Otherwise, you face the consequences of disobedience. So, we're going to talk about that wicked tongue, though, because there are believers who are deceived by the wicked tongue. They don't know that the tongue was wicked at the time, and so that's why they're, going through that whole thing of, oh, I can't believe that person really did this to me. Oh, they're so deceiving. I really thought. Well, think again. Page 134, deceived by the wicked tongue. We can easily be deceived by someone's lips speaking flattery, giving us false encouragement, and sharing lustful thoughts. We consider such a person divine, wonderful, unique, funny, and more if we are not using spiritual discernment or are backsliding. But sooner or later, we realize the wicked critic is nothing more than a gossip, a liar, an aggravator, and even worse, a murderer. Why is it that we are so ready to trust a godless person just because they look attractive and speak nicely to us? Is there something that we lack on the inside? Are we that desperate to want someone to love and appreciate us that we believe almost anything that they say? Let me stop right there. Some people, I will tell you, they pray, they ask God, please, could you just reveal to me what this person is really like and whether or not I should get married to them or whether or not I should make them a business partner, okay? So then along comes someone in their family or someone who they didn't expect to bring some information to them, and what do? Think about it. You may have even done something like this, reveal some information, help somebody out, or at least so you thought. What do? They defend. they defend themselves, defend their actions. They start acting critical of you. I can't believe you came over here and told me that. You know what? I think maybe you're jealous. Oh, maybe you really want what I have. Okay? Meanwhile, they forget they pray, right? They forget that they want to know some things. And maybe God didn't work in their timing, so they went through with certain projects, and then the truth comes out later, and then they get upset at the messenger. Jesus. So that's when that wicked tongue starts moving. Okay? When I pondered on these questions, I heard the Lord say, "My child, understand that a man or woman that comes in your life is after one thing, and that is whatever you can offer them to make them feel better about his or herself." Let me repeat that. There were some questions, right, earlier that I presented to you. Why is it that we are so ready to trust a godless person just because they look attractive and speak nicely to us? Is there something that we lack on the inside? Or are we that desperate to want someone to love and appreciate us that we believe almost anything that they say, right? Then I gave you the example. And then God says, "My child, understand that a man or woman that comes in your life is after one thing, and that is whatever you can offer them to make them feel better about his or herself." And we know that to be true because of, look at all the products that promise that this will help you, and this will make you feel this way, and this will, get people to react to you this way. Okay? He explained further. If you can give he or she that one thing, this person most likely will be your friend for life, whether he or she is good for you or not. Think about all the times that people have given their bodies over to someone or some people, okay? And they got whatever they got in the deal. You do this for me, I do that for you type of thing, okay? And what do these people do? They stick around. As long as you keep giving them, they stick around. Okay? Reading on. So all these years I wondered why I attracted certain individuals, and it all boiled down to that one thing I promised them in conversation and then later made good on it. Once their wish was granted, these difficult people would then feel that they had an in with me to say or do what they wanted in my life. This is a key point. You start off with good intentions. You give, you give, you give. You may even receive quite a bit. And then that person who's been receiving from you and giving a little bit, all right, it's at a point in your relationship where they feel like, now I'm comfortable enough with you that I can say what I truly feel. And if they're jealous about, there's some things that's going on with you, they want, covetous, anything like that, they're going to find a way to say the types of things to break you down, to keep you from doing what you're doing. Might even try to take a few of your friends, just little sneaky little things. But people who are so quick to defend all the time will miss it every time. Messenger comes, watch this person, I don't trust them, there's something about them, but that's my friend and he gave me this and he did this for me. And she's the greatest, and I don't know why you just don't want to let me have any friends. You always have a problem with, well, sometimes, yeah, there are some people that's a little, psychologically, they don't want you to have any friends, okay? But then there are some that it's not like that. They just care about you. You got 50 other friends and they didn't say anything, but that one person they keep telling you about, there's something not quite right, there's something not quite right, okay? Oh, wow. We got a lot to cover. That's why you have to get this book, Know Your Enemy, the Christian's Critic. Okay. Reading on, second paragraph, page 135. When you establish boundaries and stop doing for the critics in your life, okay, it is then that they will start speaking negatively about you to others. One of the first questions you should ask one of your friends when they say, I don't know, it just seems like we were so cool and then all of a sudden, you have to ask, well, what is it that you did or didn't do? Well, she wanted me to do such and such, but I didn't. Or he told me that he didn't want me to do such and such, but I did anyway. Okay, there was something that happened. People don't just, one thing about it, never believe a person who says that, well, this just happened or out the clear blue. There was a something that moved that person to do what they did, or something that the person experienced. Sometimes we tend to think that people gave us information, um, and, or no, I should say, sometimes people think that you were given information and that is why you're acting the way you're acting. Okay. Well, maybe she got information from so and so, and then that's why she started questioning things, or she started acting critical and all that. A lot of times, especially with the people of God, a lot of times God gives his saints information. I know it's hard for some people to believe in the natural mind. No, God didn't tell you that. God didn't. Oh, and then throw in mother instinct, throw in gut instinct, and whatever other instinct. And yeah, sometimes nobody has to call up anybody. Nobody has to write a letter. The timing was perfect when so and so showed up because I needed to tell you about this, that, and the other. You see, a lot of times a person doesn't have to do anything. God just has a way of telling you some things, you know. That's if you walk with him long enough and you're at a mature level where you can be able to listen and be obedient. And I hate to say it, but there are many Christians that's not even there. That's why they struggle with that. How is it that God could tell you and no, somebody had to have told you, because that just doesn't make any sense. The immature, they'll fight you. So, let's see. I've experienced criticism from people for my personal and professional actions and reactions, particularly if I didn't make a profit for a service. Oh yeah, that money is something else. There were those who called me weak, stupid fool for being nice to people who couldn't help themselves, much less me. Those who were wise advisors thought enough of me to give me guidance. But wicked critics who misunderstood the teachings of Christ were more concerned about their own interests. If we allow ourselves to be susceptible to enemy schemes, then the devil will stake claim to our minds, spirits, bank accounts, and whatever else he or she can get his hands on. Remember, most mayhem begins with an ungodly tongue. An ungodly tongue. Okay? But when truth comes out, there's nothing ungodly about truth. Truth is upsetting at times. Truth, as I've said in other audio, is not your friend sometimes. And so some people will misunderstand what a godly tongue is from an ungodly tongue. Okay? And right away we'll jump to conclusions. Oh, that's just nothing but the devil. She just doesn't want me happy. He doesn't want me happy. Blah, blah, blah. Look at what is going on. Look at the recent events. Look at what you didn't do. A lot of times things come about because people don't sit down and talk to one another. People don't recognize each other. People won't say, okay, I think I need to talk to this person and get some things straight, or allow me the opportunity to introduce myself. Some people just won't allow those sorts of things to happen. Then they wonder why. Why is it that, oh, there's all these problems? Well, you know, you got to look at what you're doing and what you're not doing. Paragraph 3 on page 135. Many Christians are guilty of following people both in religious and secular communities who talk what? Deceptively. These smooth talkers have the we are better than they mentality. They are the self-righteous of our world, as mentioned in the previous chapter. They keep people away from the church. Oh, what? But they're in the church, some of them. Yeah, but they have a way of keeping people away from the church because they have that we are better than they mentality. And it's you and me, baby, against the world, until he turns against her or she turns against him. What happened to it's me and you, baby, against the world? Yeah, well, it shouldn't be that way. It wasn't like that with Jesus. Jesus didn't go against people. He allowed people to come to him, and he went to people. And he listened. He listened to their plight. He felt their pain. And he found ways to heal them. You know, whether it was through his words or through miracles or signs, but he did things to, better his people. But no, some of these weak-minded Christians, they're not interested in doing that. They're interested in thinking like the world. That's why I said they're both in the religious and secular communities. And they listen to people who talk deceptively, even in their own families, their own partners that aren't as mature as they are spiritually. But they'll put aside their religion and listen to the snake. Jesus. Let us move on. These Christians, self-righteous type, they love their cliques and will say and do things to keep from their group being infiltrated by the undesirables or sheeple. And it's the secular world too. In the secular world too. A word that is used among some conspiracy-seeking groups and elitist circles to describe people who act like sheep, following a shepherd or church leaders' every move. Those who are supposed to be disciples of Christ do not take into consideration their own flaws and refuse to step outside the boxes of their own self-proclaimed righteousness. Rather than help the confused, ignorant, lost, and poor, like Jesus, remember, these Pharisee types will use their tongues to cut those who don't meet certain criteria. She doesn't pay her tithes and can't speak very well. How did she get that position? That evangelist better start bringing in more visitors or else. You might hear one say, why do I get the feeling that God doesn't want him in our group? A critical Christian might say to encourage conversation from others. I mean, he doesn't read his Bible enough and he still lives with his child's mother. A judge of a critical group might say, those people from that church don't have much money. We don't need to do much for them. I don't like that one member. She asked too many questions. I don't like her mother, so I know I won't like her. Although these are not direct quotes, I have heard similar ones, especially from critical tithe-paying church members. Sad to say, but it's the truth. Sitting around just talking ugly, assuming all sorts. Well, she's just upset because she didn't get such and such. Oh, and dismiss. Oh, well, pay that information no mind that you received. I mean, she doesn't know anything. Oh, well, there's some ulterior motives with him. And meanwhile, on the inside, you're saying to yourself, something is good about this information. Something is good about that person. Maybe this person really is working for God, contrary to what these other people are saying. Oh, maybe I need to walk softly. Yes, some people you do need to walk softly around, especially when they're prophets and when they're evangelists and teachers and people that are doing well for the kingdom. And just because some people have maybe a weak moment and, you felt a little bit slighted or you didn't quite understand, go to God and talk to God and say, look, I'm sorry, I jumped to conclusions. I thought that this person was an enemy when in fact they're really my friend. Please forgive me, Lord. It's real simple. Is it any wonder that some people end up having mental breakdowns, trying to live up to unreachable standards put upon them by some churches? Some people bend over backwards trying to keep naysayers off their backs. With enough criticism, a new believer may end up abandoning his or her faith and checking into a mental institution. In 1997 and in 1998, I was warned about two churches that I visited. I found out that they were known for running people away because of their very high standards. They didn't consider that people who have sinned for years needed to gradually distance themselves from sin. The unsaved, lost, and backsliders who came to know Christ or rededicated their lives to him couldn't just walk away from sin overnight, although some have. Instead, as soon as recently saved visitors walked down the aisle, they were expected to bring people to the next service, attend Bible studies at least 2 times a week, and face the scrutiny of church members who outlined everything they had to do to maintain their position as a disciple of Christ. Members would report back to leaders about followers' religious progress. As I grew closer to certain people I thought were friends, the more they demanded from me. Thank God I stopped visiting a couple of these churches before I needed therapy. An evangelist friend told me that a member she once knew at one of the small churches I had attended ended up being driven mad by all the pressure that was put upon her each day to study her Bible and recruit others. You didn't study your Bible today. You didn't do this right. You didn't say that right. You should have said this. You should have kept that to yourself. You need to be quiet. You need to walk this way. You're not supposed to say that. If Jesus would have listened to everybody who told him not to do this and not to do that, and God didn't tell him, he would have gone mad. There's no doubt about it. He had a huge following. He would have gone mad. I wrote this book also for those of you all who are going mad with criticism. God actually put me through a trial recently, and I'm feeling deliverance, even more peace as I'm talking to you about it. He put me through a trial recently of what it feels like for some people who have been criticized. What it feels like, because sometimes we forget. And how it just goes over and over and over like a broken record in their minds. And I said, oh my goodness, I remember those days back when I was in high school. And, you know, there's times where I remember going through some things like that with certain family members and friends. It just plays over and over and over. And I said, oh my goodness, I don't want this, Lord. I don't want this. But when you are trying to do what's right and people don't want to receive it, and all they want to do is look at you as an enemy, you dust your sandals off and you keep on moving. Don't let the criticism hinder your progress. If anything, you take that criticism and you allow it to motivate you to be the best you can at whatever you do. I have a way of taking things that people say and do and things that God will set up for me. I have a way of taking that and using it in such a way that builds up my business, that helps me parent my children, that helps me go places and talk to other people about things that critics will say and do, and issues related to relationships and business and spirituality and parenting. Because we have to go through some things in order to write books, in order to speak like this, in order to be out here and talk to people about Christ. You cannot walk this earth and never be criticized. But there are times when, yes, is God going to tell you that this is not the place to argue? Yes. And so the comments get shut down. There are going to be times when God is going to tell you that there are certain places that you're going to have to go to, and yes, there's going to be critics there. There are times when God is going to tell you to go places and there's not going to be one single critic. But wherever God takes you, just know that He is in control as long as you have prayed and trusted in Him. And you know that He has your back. Get the kind of information that's going to help you come up higher. Know Your Enemy, the Christian's Critic. Has scriptures in it. Have your Bible right alongside with this book. Think about some of the things that God has been dealing with you on. And allow the Bible and the modern day information in this book to help you grow in this walk. It's not going to be easy. Jesus had critics. Jesus had people who didn't like Him. He didn't have a lot of friends. We know that to be true. And those that was closest to Him, I wouldn't really call them friends. They were students. They were vampires, so to speak. They were feeding off of Him, you know. They were taken from Him. And then when it came down to it, when they were supposed to have His back, they didn't have His back. So when it was all said and done, Jesus didn't have any friends. And you and I, we're not going to have any friends, especially when you have so many around you that are not into God, like some of you all are who listen to my audios and read books and articles, and you say, I feel like I'm by myself in my family when it comes to stuff like this, or I feel like I'm by myself at the workplace, or what have you. That's a reality, walking this walk. They hated Jesus and they're going to hate you too. It says it in the Bible. So I thank you so much for taking this time out to listen. And please do get Know Your Enemy, the Christian's Critic. It is one of those books that, once again, it should be on your shelf when those critical people come knocking at your door and writing letters and sending information to you and all that other stuff. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, to God be the glory.